So, in the most recent New Year special, something kind of big happened. When it was revealed that Yaz had a big old crush on the Doctor, the reaction to this was predictable, to say the least. Some fans were groaning in lamentation of yet another companion with a crush on the Doctor. Others were indifferent, while one particular section of the fandom was sent into yet another bout of conspiracy-laden tirades about how woke the show is only now becoming under Chibnall, and how they are shoving SJW propaganda down our throats by having gay people exist in their sci-fi show. One thing that distinguishes New Who from the classic show is the relationships that develop between the Doctor and their companions. In the classic show, the Doctor is largely lacking a sex drive, largely because this is a family show, and family shows of that era didn't deal in such nastiness as romantic attraction. The actors cast to play the Doctor were also largely conventionally unattractive. That's not to say ugly or unfuckable, I mean, I would. But simple fact is, the companions never pined over them, or looked at them in that way, and the Doctors remain completely oblivious to the fact that their companions were often dressed like this, with the obvious exception of Jamie, of course.
Don't you think it's a bit...
A bit short? Oh, I shouldn't worry about that. Look at Jamie's. Hey, I'll have you know that... Oh, aye.
The new show has never shied away from this. It all started in season 2 when the writers decided to slam Tan and Rose together like Barbie dolls, with the only saving grace being that she was eventually locked away in an alternate universe before the relationship could be consummated. Then there was Martha, pining over the Doctor and admiring his lovely bum in those tight slacks, while Tan is far too busy getting over his ex to notice. Thankfully the writers must have gotten some sense knocked into them, and they gave us the lovely Donna, who had no interest in dating the Doctor. Their relationship was probably the best of the Davies era. They were just two best mates travelling time and space because that's a fun thing to do. And she never took any of the Doctor's crap, and I fucking love her. Since then, we haven't really had much of that go on. I mean, sure, Amy did snog 11, but he nipped that in the bud straight away and brought her fiancé along for the ride. There was also River, but I think we can make an exception there. But it does bring up some interesting questions though. Should the Doctor date their companions? Is it ethical? And what exactly is Thasmine anyway? Let's talk about shipping. According to my analytics, a large amount of my audience is of the boomer variety, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Personally, I think the boomer generation are far superior to mine. We are by and large scum. But I am coming from a millennial perspective, so I'll do my best to translate any millennialese that comes up. Shipping is a phenomenon in fandom, where fans want two or more characters to enter a romantic or sexual relationship. The term has its origins in 1995 Newsnet forums for the detective sci-fi show The X-Files, when fans and early internet adopters decided that the characters Mulder and Scully look super het and cute together, and should totally date. But the phenomenon itself has existed throughout history. For as long as people have been telling stories with characters in them, audience members have been shipping them together. Greek goddess Aphrodite frequently shipped humans together, causing chaos and discord whenever she did, even causing the Trojan War when one of her shipping attempts involved a princess who was promised to someone else. These relationships are referred to as ships and broadly resides in the domain of fanfiction. You'll find ships in every fandom, whether it be Lord of the Rings or the X-Files. Here's a ship, there's a ship. There's so many ships. A lot of people consider it the scourge of fandom, but love it or hate it, it is a part of fandom, including Doctor Who. Ships are typically named after those involved in the ship. One notable ship was between Kirk and Spock from the original Star Trek series, otherwise known as Spurk. Many scenes they share together in the show and in the movies can be interpreted to have significant homoerotic undertones, and fans did what fans do and wrote fanfiction, and distributed it in zines, the old-timey equivalent of starting a YouTube channel. It became so popular that it arguably contributed to Star Trek's big screen debut in Star Trek The Motion Picture, and Roddenberry repaid this fan loyalty by writing a footnote in the novelization of The Motion Picture where Kirk addresses the rumour that they are lovers. I was never aware of this lovers rumour, although I have been told that Spock encountered it several times. Apparently, he had always dismissed it with his characteristic lifting of his right eyebrow, which usually connoted some combination of surprise, disbelief, and/or annoyance. As for myself, I have always found my best gratification with that creature called woman. Also, I would not like to be thought of as being so foolish as to have selected a love partner who came into sexual heat only once every 7 years. No homo, Mr. Spock. More relevant to Doctor Who, Jamie and the Second Doctor were one of the original Slash pairings. Trenton and Hines were best mates in real life and had worked together before. They intentionally played the part as if they were a couple. They did this mostly to amuse themselves and partly because of this professional busybody who decided that to best not give the impression that the Doctor was engaging in hanky-panky with his female companions, he should not get touchy-feely with the female companions. They didn't say anything about the male companions though. Often they can be made out of whole cloth, with fans taking characters who look cute together and slamming them together like Barbie dolls. But sometimes when the wind is blowing in the right direction, ships are engineered by the writers themselves, with little hints placed here and there. A good example of this is Thasmine. In Avatar: The Legend of Korra, the titular character ends up dating a character named Thasmine in the end of the show, revealing that the main character is in fact bisexual. Legend of Korra is a kids show though, on Nickelodeon, so they had to communicate this very subtly, but somehow it still managed to piss off a lot of parents and adult fans who feel like they were tricked into liking gay characters. You may have noticed that a lot of the ships that I've talked about so far are gay pairings. Not all ships are gay, but a lot of them are, largely because until recently LGBTI people could never see themselves in media because of morality laws prohibiting anything that could look like gay propaganda, preventing their depiction unless they are villains or in some way punished for their sexuality. So if you're LGBTI and exist in these fandoms in these times, you have to read between the lines, do a little bit of work on your part to see yourself in these characters, even if it's just in subtext. Studios know this and often exploit it. Often same-sex ships are engineered, made very obvious and never followed through on, stringing along queer audience members for the ride. This is called queerbaiting, and something that a lot of Disney properties and animes engage in all the time. So when it is overtly followed through with, like made text rather than subtext, it's kind of a big deal. Which brings us back to Thasmine, and the whole point of this video. I hope that's comprehensive enough. I have translated the millennialese. Moving on. Thasmine is an abbreviation of 13th Doctor in Yasmin Khan, and it started off as an organic ship. Then sometime after season 1 aired, Jodie was scrolling the medias of social, and she was like, oh my god, yes. And went to her buddy Chris Chibnall, who was running the show, and she was like, we need to do this, in all caps, and he was like, oh my god, yes. And then wrote in more suggestive things, developing Yaz's character a little bit more, gave them more moments together, made Yaz the only one interested in finding the Doctor in the New Year's special, whereas everyone else was just like, meh, she got us home at least. Had her write what would the Doctor do on her wrist during Flux, had her drooling over that hologram of the Doctor constantly during Flux. And then there's the fact that Yaz and the Doctor spent who knows how many adventures together between the New Year's special and Flux, and Big Finish Rise, get on that. That's a gap, you guys need to fill it. We need some good Doctor Who out of this. And then they finally confirmed it in the most recent New Year's special. But is this okay? Should the Doctor be dating her human companions? No. Bye! Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe, please. Please like and subscribe and I'll finish the video. Okay, fine, I'll finish it. There are a few reasons why I think it can be unethical for the Doctor to date her ape-descendant companions. First off, the Doctor is a hyper-intelligent alien who can perceive the flow of time, can see the turn of the universe, feel the turn of the Earth spinning on its axis as it falls through space. Intellectually and psychologically speaking, she is a god. She is on a completely different level than any of the stupid apes that she happens to pick up. So far beyond them intellectually that if you were to stick her intellectual faculties into a human, they will burn and die, and we have seen this happen. 13 talks the talk about them having a flat group dynamic, but when it comes down to it, she is always the one who has to make the decision because she is the only one who can understand what is at stake.
Because sometimes this team structure isn't flat. It's mountainous, with me at the summit, in the stratosphere, alone. Left to choose.
She is the only one who can perceive all of the implications. She is the only one who can actually figure things out on the fly, and when her companions try to act like her, try to do the same things that she does, it ends disastrously every single time. I mean, that's what killed Clara. The intellectual difference between her and her companions is similar to that of a human and a dog. And personally, I like dogs. But there's a very good reason why you wouldn't want to date one. And it's not the ick factor. It comes down to informed consent. Dogs can't give it, and not only because they can't talk, they can't understand human relationship dynamics. And we could never understand Gallifreyan relationships. We are limited beings with a tiny lifespan. We live in the present. They walk in eternity. The Time Lords themselves are a civilization that is so beyond concepts like sexuality and gender. Their relationship structures would be completely different.
Must be love.
Oh, don't be disgusting. We're Time Lords, not animals. Try, nano-brain, to rise above the reproductive frenzy of your noisy little food chain and contemplate friendship. A friendship older than your civilization and infinitely more complex.
And then there's things like the Doctor's age to consider. The Doctor is thousands of years old. Yeah, I know, a timeless child, potentially millions of years old, but I'm talking lived experience. If the age difference doesn't weird you out, then I took the liberty of aging up the Doctor for you and switching the genders around, and now you see it. Just because she looks young, it doesn't mean that she is. And she can go on to live eons more.
But humans decay. You wither and you die.
You can spend the rest of your life with me.
but I can't spend the rest of mine with you.
Any relationship wouldn't be fair on either of them. It could only end in tragedy, and I suppose that's why they keep these plot threads around. It makes good drama. The lonely god who could never love for fear of loss. There's one other thing that I've only recently been made aware of. To a lot of asexual people, the Doctor is kind of an icon. A madman in a box who travels through time and space, getting into mad adventures with scantily clad companions while being completely oblivious to that fact. Asexual people cherish characters like these. They validate them, make them feel less alone, and I can empathise with that. And I also do recognise that this is kind of a big deal for the gay community in general. I mean, the Doctor is a landmark science fiction character who is now kind of in a gay relationship. That's kind of a big deal for representations. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. Chibnall has done the Chibnall. He's going to Chibnall. Thasmine is a thing. It is happening, whether we like it or not, so we're just going to see what happens. I can only imagine the comment section on this one, but yeah, please be kind. Like and subscribe, please don't unsubscribe. Like and subscribe, you should like and subscribe. I would like to thank everybody for watching, and yeah, like and subscribe.